Thank you for joining Not a Great Whisperer podcast, where we interview ordinary people living extraordinary lives. I'm your host, Katy Rey, a fierce leader in the community, reminding you to live life to the fullest and embrace all that you are. Welcome, Christy Vogel. How are you?
I'm absolutely fantastic, Katy. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining today.
Very excited.
So we met at an event. Christy's a badass CEO, marketing company. But what got us together was our nonprofits. What got us chatting it up. But can you tell me kind of a little bit about your journey, how you started in marketing, how the nonprofit came to be? This is all about you today.
Wow. So how do we get started? So, when you're a little kid and you and all your friends just want to be Broadway stars or actresses on the big screen. Mm-hmm. Well, I wanted to be in commercials. And if my mother was sitting in this room today, she would say, yeah, she was kind of lazy, so shorter script. So go figure. But actually what it was is I was interested in advertising at a very early age. I just thought it was really interesting the way that they positioned different products, different services. And my first connection with that was through watching television commercials. So once I figured out at an older age that advertising was the subcomponent of this wonderful world of marketing, I really became obsessed and passionate about marketing. So wow. I'm one of those few people who at an early age wanted to do this stuff and ended up actually doing this stuff.
I love that.
And because of a layoff that just absolutely killed my ego in 2009, it gave me the huge opportunity to start my own gig with marketing direction. And we're basically an outsourced marketing experts company. We function as the internal marketing department for small to medium-sized businesses. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely never would have done that if I hadn't have been laid off. I always planned to.
Mm-hmm. But you never do it, right?
There was no way else. I had a great salary. I had great benefits, but I had a terrible life. I was working 70, 80 hours. I was a single mom. Mm-hmm. I was not given the opportunity to watch my child grow up. Mm-hmm. And so had I not been laid off during the downturn, along with thousands of other marketers, by the way, I never would have been pushed off that ledge, that very scary ledge, into uncertainty of starting my own marketing agency. And I'm so grateful. I call it a to me, for me moment, that what happened to me, poor me, I got laid off. But gosh, look at what happened for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now you're just kicking butt. What started you in the nonprofit world?
So I've always served on nonprofit boards. My company has worked with nonprofit agencies, so always wanting to give back, really involved with Rotary Club of Tampa, Junior League of Tampa. So I've always felt better when I was doing something for others. It just kept me really excited and ignited. Mm-hmm. So I was born hearing impaired and didn't find out until the 6th grade that I was hearing impaired, and I was told that I needed hearing aids. And I was also told that I taught myself to read lips in order to cope those first few years of my life without hearing aids.
That's fascinating to me.
It's crazy. And, as a 6th grader, I'm 11 years old, and I'm like, well, I don't want hearing aids. I'm just fine. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be different. Nobody wants to be different at that age, for sure. So what happened was, because they were so expensive, these days they're about $6,000 a pair. And get this, insurance rarely covers them. They're considered an accessory and not something that is needed. Yes, not something that is needed in order to live your best life.
How do they measure your hearing? If it's under of course, it's going to better your life if you're just like your eyesight. How do they?
Right. So there are 5 levels of hearing loss. So all the way from mild to you're okay without a hearing aid. You just may have to strain a little bit, all the way to deafness.
And deafness doesn't even cover?
Will not help. So with deafness, typically a cochlear implant will help with that. if you have a little bit of hearing to help with that. And sometimes cochlear implants are covered by insurance. But hearing aids for levels 2, 3, and 4 of hearing loss are not covered.
I'm mind blown.
It's insane. It's insane. And because of that, I didn't get so I was told at 11 I needed hearing aids. Guess how old I was when I finally got my hearing aids?
I don't know.
I didn't get them in college. I didn't get them in my early professional career. I was 27 years old before I got my hearing aids. And the thing is, I had no idea how much I was missing because I'm like, I'm good. I'm hearing people. My parents were like, well, she comes to dinner on time every. Well, I was hungry.
Yeah.
That's why I was at dinner on time. So it's really interesting how that all came to be because I thought I was fine. Didn't realize until I had the hearing aids put in my ears that I wasn't fine. And it kind of, I correlate it to if your parents and a doctor tells you your child, God forbid, has cancer. You don't say, well, you know what, Joey's running around like, he's doing okay. He doesn't look sick, so we're just going to wait and see on this. You don't do that with cancer. You say, oh my gosh.
What do we do next?
Who do we talk to? Who are the specialists? What kind of chemo do we need? And unfortunately, with hearing or lack of hearing, parents kind of self-assess and decide whether or not their child really needs the hearing aids.
Like, oh, they listen sometimes.
Yeah, they're just hard-headed.
How can you describe the feeling when you noticed how much more you were hearing?
Well, first of all, it was overwhelming. So I got my hearing aids about 25 years ago, and the technology has completely changed. So when I first got my hearing aids, it was similar to, back when we had radio stations.
Yes, 100%.
So for those of us who still listen to radio stations, a few years ago, they used to be staticky sometimes. So a hearing aid back then was very similar to taking a staticky radio station and just turning it up. You just heard louder static. Oh. So I was in a position where the hearing aids were better, for sure, but there were a lot of negatives to it. So I was in the working environment when I first got them. And so I was in a cubicle next to other cubicles. And the person next to me, if they were balling up a piece of paper, I was over there throttling them because that crumpled up piece of paper in my ears was so loud that it would cause a headache. So any kind of background noise was also amplified along with the voices that you were trying to hear and trying to understand what speech was actually coming out of their mouth.
The first hearing aids.
The first hearing aids I had.
That you had.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
So nowadays, it's not perfect, but it's so much better. I mean, the background noise is turned down so that I can focus on what is in front of me. I'm able to answer the phone without even touching my phone with a click of my hearing aid, so I can talk to you through my hearing aids.
Oh my gosh,
I've got a little microphone that I use that I sit down in Starbucks in the middle of the table. I'm hearing better than anybody else in Starbucks. I mean, it's amazing the technology that has come forth.
And with your nonprofit being able to get kids hearing aids now, what do you want people to know about hearing aids and, children that have hearing impairment? Like, what is it you want just the average Joe to know?
Well, number one, just what I said, because people are mostly shocked when they hear, number one, they're $6,000 and for kids. And for kids, unless you're on Medicaid, they are not covered by insurance. And that is usually the biggest shock. I've got a couple of other more shocking stats when it comes to children and their hearing aids. So kids that don't get their hearing aids are more than twice as likely to become addicted to drugs and alcohol. So it's no longer just, here's a hearing aid to help you hear better and do better in school. Children who don't get their hearing aids are more than 5 times as likely to attempt suicide. So it was then that I realized we're not just helping kids hear better in school, do better at their jobs, do better in school. We're actually saving lives. And it hits really close to home for me because I have 2 cousins who need it. So I have nerve deafness, and it's hereditary in my family. So you should show up to one of our family reunions. Everybody's shouting. Nobody can hear anybody. And so it's kind of typical in my family to have hearing impairment. So 2 of my cousins were also hearing impaired. They never got their hearing aids, and they both died from their addictions. I didn't find out this information until after they had passed. So I was always going to do something with hearing aids, maybe after I sell the business, maybe after I retire, when I have time, when I have money. When I read those stats, I didn't have the time, I didn't have the money, I didn't have the resources, but I had to start. I started right that very day of what do we do? What can we do? Because we need to get hearing aids in the ears of children. And it has just taken off. It has caught fire. I thought I would be the only one passionate about this, but when people are really understanding what's at stake here, how can I help? How can I help? I get that question all of the time. And so we're a good 2 years into this, and we are so much farther along than I ever thought we could be.
I know you were out to help one kid, right? And now look at that. I love that. I love the passion behind it. And I also, you weren't like, I need to make this nonprofit, this huge thing. You just wanted to help a kid, really, is what started it.
Right.
That's what I think people always think, like, oh, nonprofit. No, we're just creating something so it has an impact on people who don't really have a voice, because these kids probably aren't speaking up. And even, I think a crazy thing, too, is in 6th grade when you were just like, I don't think I need a hearing aid, too, because you didn't want to be different.
Right. I didn't want to be different. And it's so hard to fit in when you're that age, just even if you're quote unquote normal, but having braces or acne or there are just all kinds of reasons to not have that confidence. And so there was no way I wanted hearing aids at that time. Now they're cool. You can pick out what color. One of our more recent kids that we gave hearing aids to, Kinley, she picked a mermaid pink hearing aid and a mermaid blue hearing aid.
Oh.
And her hearing aids are waterproof.
Oh, cool.
So she can swim underwater. And guess what? She's taking swimming lessons now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she can stream music underwater while she's doing her swimming lessons.
Oh, my gosh. How cool technology. And so 6,000 now for those type of hearing aids.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for a pair.
And then you fundraise for the hearing aids for the kids.
Yes.
And checkups and stuff?
We do. So we work with the audiologists in Hillsborough and Pinellas County schools. And so they are our angels. So they are the ones who identify the child to begin with, that there's a hearing need, and B, there may be a financial need. And then they connect them to us. And then the audiologists continue to do the hearing assessment, the programming. They order the hearing aid, and Sounding Joy, my nonprofit, pays for the hearing aid. We also have partners, private ENT partners. So one of those is in Tampa, Tampa Children's ENT, and they are on the private side. So once the school system audiologists have done everything they can in their power, then Tampa Children's ENT takes over and will assess, will service. If a child loses a hearing aid or damages a hearing aid, which is highly likely as a child, then they will step in to help us, to reconnect us, to replace that hearing aid for them, because we don't want them to go without.
No, you've lived it. Okay, so getting like personal, if I were to meet you on the street, who would you say you are? How would you describe yourself to me?
I live to ignite joy.
Love a marketing. I love it. The marketing brain. And he was like, hold on a minute. I got this.
And I had that phrase before we named the nonprofit.
Yeah.
So my marketing team helped me come up, or actually they came up with the name. I just started crying when I saw it, and they were like, oh, that must be it.
Aww.
So joy is even before the nonprofit, the word joy has always been extremely important to me, because igniting joy in other people brings me more joy and happiness and fulfillment than it ever will for the person that I'm providing it to.
How did you find that out?
When I started doing it, I felt I felt elated. I mean, it was just, they say focus on what makes you feel good in life. And I started noticing, I had these buckets, and it's like, well, when I do these kinds of things, it's really easy. I'm excited to do it. It brings me energy instead of draining me. And time after time, I started realizing, well, you know what? I help somebody. And when I say bringing joy to someone, just when I'm passing them on the street and saying hello and smiling, and they smile back, that can be bringing joy.
Did we just become best friends?
Yes, we did. I think we did.
I am the same. My oldest always makes fun of me because he's like, "Who'd you make smile today, Mom?" And I'm like, "Oh, I said hi when I went on a run to somebody and they smiled." Or I'll be like, "That person totally ignored me." But
yeah, but you still impacted them, because so many people I talk to about this say, "Yeah, well, I get a dirty look sometimes or whatever." You have no idea what's going on in their life. They could have just been asked for a divorce. They could have just lost a child. And by seeing your smile, even though they didn't smile back, maybe their heart got a little bit bigger just because of that. Maybe it didn't even look like they saw you, but they did, and you created impact. So just keep on smiling. Keep on smiling.
What? And you have a daughter or son?
Daughter.
And you said you were a single mom, and when she was younger. But
yes.
I doubt you were not showing up for her and stuff like that. I know we're hard on ourselves as moms, but how were you right away checking for hearing and different, was that something that was not triggering, but you knew because it's hereditary, I need to make
Absolutely.
sure.
Thank God she has no hearing impairment. That generation, it seems to be almost non-existent with my nieces, nephews.
Oh, wow.
I do have a niece who has hearing impairment, but it's for a different reason.
Okay.
So the hereditary deafness seems to be going away. Thank goodness. And so my daughter Lexi has great hearing. Actually, we were just talking this afternoon. The loud noises affect her even more so than the average child who has normal hearing. So hers is almost the opposite end of the spectrum.
Oh, she's like, please talk lower.
Yes. Don't talk so loud,
When
Mom.
you were younger, did they try to say that you had any other learning disabilities? Or did you catch on to reading lips so quickly that you weren't really falling behind?
So I was not diagnosed with anything. And this is really hard for me to talk about even today because I basically grew up thinking that I was slow. I thought I was stupid because of the way people would look at me because I was reading lips, even though I didn't know I was reading lips, it would take me a second longer to put together what the lips were doing and what the speech was saying. And so because of that, I came across as being slow. And when you see enough people looking at you that way, you believe it yourself. And so I really internalized that. And so I grew up thinking that I wasn't enough, that I wasn't going to succeed in anything because I was stupid. And it's not as if you put on these hearing aids and realize, oh my gosh, I can hear. I wasn't stupid. I'm brilliant. That takes a lot of years of unwiring what you've actually thought about yourself. And so to this day, I'm still telling myself, Christy, you are smart. You can do this. You can take on the world. You can help these kids. But I got to tell myself that every day. And there are a lot of days where we wake up and we're saying, I'm not enough. And, maybe I am that stupid kid that I thought I was before. So it's a constant working on me in order to be my best self so that I can continue to ignite joy for others.
I think that's self-worth because, as adults, we realize our self-worth as kids now. So it's the adults that are taking the time to pour into those kids to remind, that self-worth piece is huge. So on your days where it's hard, do you go to a podcast, a song, a book? What's something that hypes up Christy?
So I've got this whole ritual and I speak on it a lot because I want to share it with everybody. And it's nothing new. It's just knowing that. So we all wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and our brains are going zzz of everything that we got to do that day and everything that we're not and everything that we're not achieving. It's all this negative feedback. And why we listen to the negative instead of the positive, I have no idea why. But we just do. Exactly. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, I shut that off. I shut it off. And instead, I am just thankful and grateful. I'm thankful for my pillowcase. I am thankful for my 15-pound weighted blanket. I am thankful that when I put my feet on the floor in the morning, I'm going to be able to stand up on my own. So when you get in that mind shift of being thankful and grateful, it is physically impossible for your brain to process fear. So you're shutting that down. You're shutting down the negative and instead focusing on the positive. So then all of a sudden you're able to go back to sleep. So number one, you're getting more sleep and you're not as stressed out when you're waking up. Then when I wake up, I go to my phone. I don't look at text messages. I don't look at emails coming through. And by the way, my phone is not next to my head in my bed. It's in my bathroom plugged in. I go straight to my WhatsApp app and I look at my power group who always sends some kind of a motivational message. It could be a 10-second video. It could be a quote. I start my morning with something positive with that. And then from there, I listen to my Joy FM radio station that has 100%
It's called Joy.
Positive. It's all joy. See, there it is. It's just ingrained. So my Joy FM app, and that keeps the positive going. In my bathroom, I've got positive quotes. I've got the last positive email I received from somebody stuck on my wall. I've got my goals set down. I probably shouldn't share this, a little TMI, but my goals are taped to the wall. So when I'm sitting down doing my business, they're right there in front of my face.
I'm so glad you shared that. You're right. You can't get away from it.
Exactly.
It's right there.
Exactly. It's right there staring you in the face. And do I know what my goals are now? Absolutely.
Of course you do. 100%.
So it's just that, listening to the positive, training your brain. And we have to retrain our brains. Focus on the positive. Like when I walked in here today, you gave me this great compliment. It's so easy for me to go, oh, well, actually not really because of this.
Yes, we do that so often.
Own it. Listen to
I
it.
do.
Own it. Yes, I am. Thank you so much. And back at you, so we've got to really retrain our brains to listen to that positive and know that the negative's there because it's never going to go away. It's always sitting on the sidelines, just waiting to pounce on us. But we're not going to let it in because we're going to focus on that positive. I've got socks that say, I am grateful. I've got a T-shirt that says, I am a gladiator. These are all things that are reminders, not only for me, but other people see these things as well.
Well, drop a mic on that. That's an awesome routine in the morning. Boom. Mic drop. Well, you have sparked joy in me today. Where can I find you, though? Not your address, like social media and stuff, and your company. So
so on the marketing side, marketingdirection.com. And on the Sounding Joy side, soundingjoy.org. And we're on all the social media platforms, so just look
Christy
us up.
everywhere.
I got a TEDx out there talking about my story.
Yes.
So if you go to TEDx and just put in Christy Vogel,
Deaf Not Dumb.
Deaf
That's
Not
awesome.
Dumb. That's
that was
right.
Really awesome. I forgot to bring it up, but we were talking about all the things, so it's fine.
I know. There's so much to talk about. Part 2.
I know. Yeah, yes, for sure. You can find Christy on Not a Great Whisperer podcast, katyrey.com. You really I'm so glad we connected. I'm so glad you were on today. I'm excited to do big things with you for the kiddos out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I adore you.